Hello there and welcome to Stay Live. Our special guest today is a superb visual artist. It is my pleasure to introduce you, Guggi. Hi Guggi, how are you?
I'm really good. Very pleased you guys are here.
Thank you so much for having us. Drawing has been part of your life since you were a child. What has influenced your artistic development during childhood?
You know, I guess it's difficult to say what influences the development. I suppose it's really driven by wanting to do the next drawing or the next painting, or wanting to do the next drawing because you think it's the best one you're going to do. I think when I was a child, it would have been very much the case, and I think it still is. I have this deep down belief that so often that it's the next painting that's going to be the great one. But certainly as a child, like a lot of kids, I just liked drawing. It would have been less painting then and more sketching. And in school, I got a lot of attention through being able to draw better than anybody else. And I loved still life and, the way light hits a three-dimensional object and shines in one part and throws shadows, and I was quite fascinated by just the basic nuts and bolts of drawing when I was young, and I never stopped.
Mm-hmm. At a very early age, you have met your longtime friends, Bono at first and Gavin Friday after. Which things did you used to enjoy together, or how did you influence each other?
Well, before music ever came into the equation, Bono lived across the street from me, so when we were both very small, our mothers could see each other's houses, so, you had to play with somebody that lived very close to you, and he was just my favourite guy on the street. He was the one that I got on with, best, I guess. Neither of us were really into sport. Everybody on the street played the Gaelic games or they played soccer. And we used to sit in his garage and draw. And I guess we were the only two kids in the immediate area that liked to do that. And I suppose that would have had some bearing on our friendship, but I guess the fact that we weren't mad about sport was something very big that we had in common as well. I guess even at that age, we were more interested in the arts.
Mm-hmm. And talking actually, you were saying you used to paint in his garage. I heard once that Bono's father was actually very helpful and proactive with both of you in terms of helping you in having a good atmosphere to create. How was that? Like, how did you...
Yeah, well, his dad, Bob painted himself, and, he was a wonderful painter. So he would take an interest and he'd come in and give us a little bit of critique in those very early days. And, it was great to hear his comments and you learn from, good critique, or one can do.
Yeah.
And I guess, at such an early age, that was certainly part of both of our developments, as young artists.
Yeah. And who else was helpful with you, in terms of teachers or, mentors?
I had a teacher in primary school that encouraged me. I would have got some encouragement there, but then primary school would have been maybe an hour a week or something. So I guess even though she appreciated, what I did, there wasn't an awful lot of it. I went to secondary school and I was made a big fuss over by my art teacher then and my friend now, Jimmy Burns. He was great encouragement to me. He made a very special case out of me. He set me up in the stock room. Anything I wanted, he got. And I guess that was, close to the start of, maybe as a young adult or at least a teenager starting to feel that I did have something special, and I did have something that, you know, adults appreciated. So I think that was great encouragement to me.
The need to express yourself was essential as a young man too. And how did you and Gavin decided to form the Virgin Prunes?
Well, I used to drive U2's equipment around because I was the only one that had a car out of the lads, you know. Edge's mum was great as well, and Larry's mum before that, but as I remember it. But I got a car when I was 17, and that's when the boys started really, you know, starting to take off, I suppose, in a local way. And I drove their equipment around, and they had a little rehearsal room out in Malahide, and myself and Gav and Strongman and Dick was in the band at the time. There were a few of us around, and they were having a cup of tea. Some of the boys picked up the instruments, and we decided, you know, we're going to do a gig, we're going to do a show here. So there was a place, there still is, in a Temple Bar called the Project Art Centre. And our first gig was in the Project Art Centre in 1976 or 77, supporting U2.
I see, all right. And one thing is that you used to stage a whole performing atmosphere actually in the Virgin Prunes. Your songs and your body language were very powerful, and your facial expression somehow recalled to me expressionism, like, you know, a bit like in the silent movies, you know, really the way that you used to express yourself. What did that performing experience give you as an artist?
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting question. I suppose what it did was the start, personally speaking, you're asking me personally.
Yeah.
It was the start of me winning confidence, I think. My confidence is not something that was encouraged in us in any way, quite the opposite when we were growing up. So we had got to get out there and earn our confidence. And, you know, it's a pretty scary thing at the age of 17, about to walk on to a paying audience, people that have paid in. They want to see something, worthwhile. And, you know, I guess that's a pressure that's on you, and you want to go out there and you want to be great. And it's tough, and it was quite scary in the early days for me, but we still did it. And for me personally, I think I would say that it was the start of me earning my confidence.
Yeah.
And performing became incredibly important to me. It seemed, in a strange way, to be, you know, part of what I needed, part of who I am, and I took it extremely seriously. And there was a lot of humour involved too in the Virgin Prunes, but we took our humour very seriously. And yeah, performance was important to me. But to answer your question, I think it was great for helping with confidence, because when you do something that for you is brave, it helps.
Yes.
You know.
And, you know, from the point of view of being an artist, I think that every person that has, you know, a great creative vision needs to express himself, you know, through different tools. So that's why I was asking you this question, because somehow, you know, performing arts were actually the tool of expression in that moment. But then, you know, at a certain stage, while you were in the Prunes, you decided that you needed to make a choice, and you had somehow, you know, to go back to your first love, that was actually visual arts. How was that moment for you?
Well, you know, it wasn't quite that dramatic, because it wasn't a question of going back to my first love. I had never left my first love. Mm-hmm. You know, right through my years with the Virgin Prunes, I never stopped painting. I mean, I did some record sleeves. I would do wall drawings that would appear in the background of photographs. I was very interested in makeup and costume. And what the Virgin Prunes wanted to do, or at least one of the things we wanted to do, was bring music and the visual arts together.
That's
And I would have been very much coming from the place of the visual arts. I love music, but as you say, it wasn't my first love. And deep down, I always believed that I was a painter. But I never felt far from that in the Virgin Bruins. You know, they're both very visual. I mean, painting is, of course, a visual art, and so is performance. And I think they're quite closely related, actually. I suppose the actual buzz of performing is something that I missed for quite a lot of years. But maybe it made me dig deeper in my painting.